You've already heard ideas from our previous panel about where they want to see Sydney heading in the future. But let's jump to the future now and envisage Sydney in 2030. So to discuss this, could you please welcome one of my favourite people in the public sector, New South Wales Building Commissioner David Chandler. And just come up as I welcome you, the CEO of Odd Culture Group, James Thorpe. He's odd by name but not by nature. And the CEO of Aware Super, the one and only Deanne Stewart. And to be the moderator is the inimitable, the one and only Laura J. So please welcome them all to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege to be here in the best harbour in the best city in the world, and I'm not biased at all. So, in all of your expertise with this wonderful panel, I want to first ask you all, what's something we do really well, and also really badly in this city? David, can you nominate?
What the industry does really well is throw rocks at each other. So I think they're doing that less and less these days.
Yep.
But what they do really well is that when you get them to engage, this industry is really about actually rowing strokes together. I've been blown away by the fact that once everybody's in the boat rowing, we can achieve anything.
Okay, it sounds like a double negative, but we'll move on and explore that a little later. James?
I think we've done a really good job in this city, or perhaps by accident, of fostering a really creative hospitality community, the community I'm part of. But I just feel like that creative industry is just so let down by planning and licensing laws. Yeah. And it's kind of led to an anti-creative movement of consolidation in our industry.
Deanne?
I'll give mine on a personal sense. I lived and worked overseas for 11 years, and when I came back to Sydney, I was like, oh, I am back home. It's bold, it's brazen, it has real ambition to it. I think sometimes that gets then lost in planning and what we're trying to do, but it's just such an awesome city, and there is no other city in the world that just has the beaches right nearby, right near the CBD. It's just an amazing combination.
Yeah, I agree with that. David, the red tape that we've seen in the industry for quite some time, quote, ridiculous. Do you agree with that assessment? Can it be fixed? What's the low-hanging fruit here?
Well, first of all, my side of the equation is as the regulator rather than the planner.
Of course.
So I'm not going to wander into a ministry that's not mine. But I'm certainly going to talk about the regulatory side, and I think that when I was first made Building Commissioner, everybody spoke about, more red tape, more rules. I haven't heard the word red tape for now 2 years. People have suddenly realised that actually a well-regulated industry is a productive and useful place to be. So I think as long as everybody understands what the game plan is, I haven't heard red tape for 2 years.
If you're in the building sector, though, there's plenty of it, perhaps not right under your remit. The Daily Telegraph reporting this morning, for example, that there's 5 councils on average are taking between 200 and 300 days to approve a DA. Surely that's frustrating for you. I'm not going to duck away from the question, but simply that's a planning issue, and I think the Premier's addressed that really well today as to how he's going to start to unclog that system.
On the other side, what we've got to do is to make sure that the way forward for people, once they've got that consent, once they're ready to go, is productive and understood.
Yeah. A lot of smaller builders, Class 2 builders, and forgive me for getting technical, but Daily Telegraph readers will love me for asking these kinds of questions. So today I've got a press release right in my hands from certifiers calling on an urgent overhaul of the planning portal, for example. This seems like something that has frustrated builders for so long and needs to be fixed urgently. Can you tell us what you're seeing from your end on that?
Well, we're a big user of the planning portal as the regulator, so we get about 60% of everything we need to know from the portal, so it's a valuable state asset. And at the moment, it's not quite there and not delivering the goods. So I fully empathise with certifiers and other users of the portal at the moment. We do need to address, it's got to be fixed, it's got to be made fit for purpose, and we need to do it soon.
Yeah, I'm told the Department of Fair Trading, for example, has so many complaints about this actual portal? They've got a department within the department to look after it.
Well, it's not necessarily the Department of Fair Trading's asset. It is an asset of the planning area. So DPI own the e-planning portal. We are really a heavy user, and just like everybody else, at times we find it challenging. But we're working our way through it, but it does need an investment to get it back to where it needs to be.
Yeah, okay, we'll come back to that, and particularly occupational certificates as well, another massive frustration in the industry. James, we talk about, Sydney being the greatest city in the world, and it really is, but when it comes to kind of punching above our weight, I think maybe some in government couldn't possibly understand why young people want to stay up beyond midnight, for example. From your perspective, what needs to change? What's the number one priority?
I mean, there's kind of two parts. The first part is pretty well known, like our planning and licensing system's not fit for purpose in the state. Creative entrepreneurship in my industry groans under the weight of extended determinations and duplication, triplication of consultation with stakeholders. And the effect that has is really just squeezing out anyone who doesn't have the means to wait or to pay. If you're a young bar owner, as I once was when I bought my first venue 7 years ago, if I was quitting my full-time job and going to open a small bar, do I really have the means to sit around and pay commercial rent for 16 to 24 months before a decision's even made on my application? That's a real-world example of a development we're undertaking at the moment, entirely uncontroversial small bar that had supportive police and neighbours that sat in a pile for 16 months. And the thing's not even built yet. It's going to be probably 26, 27 months by the time it opens. Now, our group is of a level where that is really on the border of being feasible, but, it's touch and go. For smaller operators, which we go on a lot about, we want Sydney to be an international city like London or Paris. Part of what makes those cities special is they foster the creative entrepreneurship of the younger generation of newer operators coming up who really can't afford to sit around and wait and pay commercial rent to sit in an in-tray of some bureaucrat or several bureaucrats.
So you're talking about there needs to be more incentive, more breaks for younger, smaller owners trying to, make a small business work. But, we've discussed as well some of the other problems that you have, like getting these liquor licensing laws, the time that they take, but also noise complaints, trading laws. And it seems like a really small thing, but one noise complaint or one complainant can hold up and make a business, be a nightmare for one business, can't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we love our neighbours at our venues. We have 6 venues across Sydney.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, we actually have one venue that sits in the Enmore Road Special Entertainment Precinct, and the government obviously trialled the SEP laws, which gave one central department the authority to adjudicate noise complaints. In New South Wales at the moment there are 7.
Hang on. Noise complaints go across 7 departments?
There are 7 government departments in New South Wales that can investigate and have compliance, authority over noise complaints, which is like a sword of Damocles, well, it's 7 swords of Damocles actually, over operators, which it makes it difficult to operate. But just on the piece that I was just talking about, just squeezing smaller young operators out of the market. A lot of people I know, and actually this is why now on Enmore Road we've seen a sudden resurgence in small operators opening live music venues, of which we have only 130 in New South Wales at the moment, for this very reason, because they've seen the protection that the SEP has granted them in terms of vexatious complainants must make themselves known to council only. They can't anonymise their complaints if they want something substantiated, which is a big part of the issue here, because what you see is one vexatious complainant who will call up Auntie Beth and Uncle Robert, who live 4 suburbs away, to make a submission to an application, which may or may not count. If it's anonymous, who knows where they live, you know?
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing that is really stifling
No
creativity.
offence to any Auntie Beths in the room, by the way.